We love indies because they're creative, beautiful, powerful, and innovative, but other times we love them because they're downright insane and we just want to tap into that dark side of our brains. Here are the top 10 most disturbing indie games that we've played at I Dream of Indie Games. Hey, you know what else is disturbing though? If you haven't checked out the I Dream of Indie Games Patreon over at patreon.com/idreamofindiegames. Gain Discord access, exclusive live streams, early ad-free shows, and just added a new podcast only available for patrons. Your community is waiting. While narrowing this list down to 10 was certainly a challenge, one game that has to be included comes to us from Phobia Game Studio and Devolver Digital. Let's kick things off with Carrion, which is kind of like if they made a good Carnage video game. In Carrion, you take control of a disgusting red creature that's breaking out of prison while destroying every living thing in its path. Carrion is a game that took great risk and it paid off with visceral combat, fun puzzles, and stunning art direction. Billed as a reverse horror game, the action and violence ramps up almost instantly with controls that definitely don't feel conventional at first, but you'll be sucking in humans like a vacuum in no time. I honestly feel bad for all the victims in this game because meeting your end at the hands of this red demon abomination would be about as much fun as sticking your dick in an active beehive while doing the one-chip challenge. If devouring humans to grow bigger and stronger sounds up your alley, you sicko, definitely check this one out if you haven't. Carrion is not only a disturbing game, it's an outstanding one. Alright, I promise this isn't going to be all Devolver games, but I guess the fact that they've had 2 games in a row on this list says a lot about them. Inscryption. Where does one even begin? What isn't unsettling here? I suppose you would expect no less from the creator of Pony Island, which also could have easily made this list. Inscryption is the first card-based video game I ever really fell in love with, and that's because it just isn't your average card game. This is one of the most difficult video games to talk about ever without spoiling. This psychological nightmare puts you in front of a shadowy weirdo with the craziest eyes I've ever seen, and allows for open exploration of this insane environment as well. See, I told you it wasn't just a card game. Your cards will speak to you as you summon animals, collect bone tokens, and tip the scales in your favor with what else? Teeth. Yes, teeth. And why not pull out a tooth with some pliers? While you're at it, sure, anything goes. Disturbing isn't even a good enough word for what awaits players in Inscryption. Of course, half the fun is discovering its many secrets for yourself, so if you haven't played yet, congrats on avoiding spoilers and get to it. Usually when I get up and walk away from a game, it's because I'm having an absolutely terrible time, but in the case of the Mortuary Assistant, it was due to the fact that the game made my blood run completely cold. As you would expect, you'll play as a mortuary assistant that ends up working at Riversfield Mortuary. Unfortunately, your first day of work doesn't go so well as you end up possessed by a demon. From here, things only get worse as you drain bodies of blood, shove trocars into them, and collect all the deathly data you could imagine. The fact that this is someone's real-life job is disturbing enough, even if it isn't entirely accurate, so to experience it in a video game, which is so interactive, yeah, it made me a little bit ill. This game has its audience, and while it wasn't me, we can all agree that the Mortuary Assistant is a seriously dark, warped experience. So you knew this one was coming, mentioned disturbing games, and Doki Doki Literature Club undoubtedly comes up at one point or another. What looks like a cute and cozy little visual novel slowly reveals itself to be much, much more. If you know, you know. This is a game people either seem to really love or absolutely hate, but there's no denying some of the completely unexpected moments throughout. It explores dark themes like suicide and depression, so if that's an instant eject for you, definitely run and hide from this one, but if not, well, this is again one of those games that's very difficult to talk about without spoiling, but expect a lot of disturbing scenes. I'll just leave it there. My advice would be don't go into Doki Doki Literature Club expecting sunshine and rainbows, that's all. Next we have Mad Father. It's disturbing, yes, but also really gripping. I could not put this game down once I started playing it. You play as a young girl named Aya who slowly unravels a dark mystery within the Drevis residence. The chilling soundtrack, sick and twisted narrative, and late game twists will leave your jaw on the floor. Mad Father is available in a remade version on Steam and Nintendo Switch, which is the only way I've ever played it, so if any of you know the differences or have played the original, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. Sure, I know what you're thinking, the whole explore the mansion thing has been done before, and yes, the gameplay isn't all that deep here, but this is a haunting experience with a huge payoff. Well recommended if you can stomach the violence and grotesque reveals. This next game is is not talked about nearly enough if you ask me, but it's an outstanding visual novel, and that would be Corpse Factory. Okay, so maybe it's not the most original concept with properties like Death Note existing, but Corpse Factory delivered its narrative with such confidence backed by an outstanding writing style that made the hair stand up on the back of my neck. A strange website that lets you request a death and then sends a grisly photo is really all you need to know here. It's dark, twisted, but absolutely brilliant. If you're a fan of visual novels and you don't mind some very detailed writing and violence, Corpse Factory was one of the best releases in 2022 and remains a compelling playthrough today. Let's keep this list rolling, and I don't think we've ever had a more divisive game on I Dream of Indie Games than this one, but one thing we can all agree on when it comes to a suggestion by Stormy Day here of the staff to call this the unaliving of Rachel Foster, but if you know the title, you know it. Yes, this is how crazy making content on YouTube has gotten. But anyways, Rachel Foster, as I'll refer to it going forward, had a shocking twist that left gamers talking. A young girl gets trapped in the family hotel where a dark past is slowly revealed. You'll definitely want to look into this one a bit before you decide to play, because while I personally enjoyed the game, there is a lot of controversy about how it handles certain themes. Some people kind of gelled with the overall message of this game and got it. Other people didn't really like it at all and were just grossed out, and both perspectives are completely understandable. My advice, well, Rachel Foster is a game that is not necessarily the best to play. It's a fine little first-person horror adventure, but the themes will stick with you. The story is intriguing, and it will get you talking at the least, so play at your own discretion again, like most of the games on this list. Glad to move on from that one. Now, is this the first rogue game on the list? Either way, the art alone is enough to unsettle any gamer in Source of Madness, which is an excellent game, by the way. The AI-powered learning utilized in this title makes for some really freaky enemies and movements, coupled with chilling Lovecraftian art direction. Your march to the Tower of Madness is chock full of disturbing entities that'll take you down using an assortment of magical abilities. Source of Madness earns points with me just based on the fact that no game has ever really looked quite like it, and it is disgustingly beautiful. It doesn't hurt that it's a really fun title. Now we go to the bottom two, and we meet again Game of the Year 2021, Strangeland. Yes, an outstanding point-and-click adventure. If you're a longtime fan of this channel, then you already know how much me and Silent Signs love this game, but it's the twisted art and world along with the bizarre cast, which are all wonderfully voiced, that gets it on this list. From a maniacal clown that makes terrible jokes to the soundtrack, which is absolutely insane and totally unsettling. Few games have as chilling of an atmosphere as Strangeland. If you can handle its nightmarish themes, this is an absolute must-play for point-and-click fans. God, I still get the chills of the heebie-jeebies just looking at the art style again. Oh, this is such a good game. Also, I'm just gonna say it, best hint system in a game ever. You have to play to find out. Thanks for sticking with me through this list all. Hopefully you didn't skip any, because pretty much every game on this list is worth checking out. Whether you can stomach it or not is totally up to you, however. But parting is such sweet sorrow. Before I dismiss this class, I want to shout out Detention, which will have you begging to be homeschooled again. Who am I kidding? I see the demographics. None of us are being schooled at all at this point, probably, right? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say most horror fans in the indie scene have heard of Detention at one point or another. Its bleak, colorless visuals set great atmosphere. The puzzles are tricky, but really smart, and the scares almost second to none. Detention will haunt your dreams, yes, but as for this list, you are now officially dismissed. Well, hopefully you don't need to go talk to your therapist after I've thrown so many disturbing indies your way, but this is just the tip of the iceberg, so let me know in the comments below some of the most disturbing, messed up indies that you've played, and I very much look forward to responding to all of your comments. I know we're gonna have some great debates down there about games that should have been on this list, but it is only 10, you can only fit so many. Thank you so much for supporting content here at I Dream of Indie Games. We appreciate you all greatly. Stay tuned for all the latest indie game reviews. More fun lists like this and other exciting content is in the works. See you on the channel.